Chapter 2, Anonymous Royal Book. The best thing about being resurrected is that he now has flexible limbs and can be happy. This realization makes Pham Nhan feel very happy. The feeling of not having any illness in his body was an indescribable joy. He was very comfortable. It could be said that it was a blessing from heaven. It took him 4 years to fully understand this problem. Since he has a chance to live again, why don't he live well for a while? If heaven has given me a new life, if I don't live happily, wouldn't that mean I'm not giving the old man face? If I can move right now, why don't I move more? Therefore, all the servants of the count's mansion knew that this young master was a very active person. "Young master, I beg you, come down here quickly." At this time, Pham Nhan was sitting on top of the fake mountain in the yard, looking at the distant sea at the horizon, smiling, but in the eyes of the maid, a 4-year-old child unexpectedly dared to climb to such a high place, and had a very mature smile. It was clear that this kid was crazy. Gradually, more and more people gathered below the fake mountain, and the 7 or 8 servants around the fake mountain became frantic and worried. Although Count T Nam received the favor of His Majesty the Emperor, after all, his title was not high, his official position was not great, his outside income was not much, even if it was much. He could not use it all. Provided to his mother an illegitimate child, so there weren't many servants in the count's mansion. Pham Nhan looked at the impatient faces of the people below in the fake mountain, couldn't help but sigh, carefully crawled down and said, "Just a little exercise, why are you in such a hurry?" The servants had long since become accustomed to listening to the strange words of the young master who had learned from the adults of his family. Seeing him but not blaming him, an old man passed by and picked him up and took him to the bathroom. Waiting for Pham Nhan to finish bathing and smelling fresh, a maid hugged him, smiled and touched his face, smiling and teasingly said, "Young master looks like a young lady from another family. In the future, I don't know which family's young lady will be blessed." Pham Nhan was so dumbfounded that he didn't continue. He couldn't be as good as a 4-year-old child to slap this maid who was over 10 years old in the mouth. He didn't bother to do this kind of thing. Wait until he was 6 years old. The new age has a provocative nature. "Let's go take a nap, little ancestor." The maid patted the baby's butt. They were still very strange. Although the young master of this count's mansion was young, his temper had already begun to show that he was not good, but now he still maintained a kind of diligence. Same self-binding of adults, for example, taking a nap. Everyone, when they were children, always remembered the great story that at noon, when the sun was hot, many bad people would force them to go to sleep. These bad people are called fathers, mothers, and teachers. But this young master Pham Nhan never needed anyone to force him to go to sleep. Every afternoon at 12 o'clock he would put his innocent, smiling face on his face, and instead go into the bedroom and start sleeping, and he slept all at once. The circuit does not produce any sound. The old lady didn't believe it at first. So she told the girl to observe the boy, thinking he was pretending to sleep and being naughty in bed. But after more than half a year, she discovered that every time this boy slept deeply, even if you shout, it's difficult to wake it up. From then on, the maids no longer paid attention to this matter, and when he slept, they were usually outside watching. This was summer. The maids were naturally more diligent, tilting their bodies, holding the fan in their hands and gently waving it. One by one, occasionally a light breeze blew by. Returning to the bedroom, Pham Nhan crawled onto the bed, lifted the top of the mat, and carefully pulled out a book from underneath. The cover of this book is yellow and looks a bit ancient, but there is not a single word on the top, but on the spine of the book are embroidered patterns with deep and unclear meanings. Each sketch is like the wind sweeping the clouds away, or like a corner of an ancient long skirt. He gently opened the book, turned to the 7th page. On the top there was a drawing of a naked man, with a pink curve appearing on his body. I don't know what paint was used to draw it like that. This makes the viewer feel like, these curves are slowly moving, Pham then sighed. On the surface, he was only 4 years old, so he never dared to show his true nature too much. Fortunately, there was a book like this to keep his time from being too boring. This book was left to me by that blind teenager named Ngo Truc when I was a child. Pham then still remembers that blind young man. He was his mother's servant in this world. That year he was trapped in the small body of a newborn that had once been in that teenager's arms. All the way from the capital to this port, the other person probably thought that he was too young to remember anything. But Pham than's soul was not that of an innocent, inanimate child. Along the way, he had long seen that the blind young man truly cared for him. Which could not be faked, but for some unknown reason, after that blind young man took him to Count T Nam's palace, he immediately left the palace, and no matter how hard the old lady tried to hold him back, he did not stay. Before he left, he placed this book next to the newborn baby that was him. Pham then is a bit skeptical about this matter. Is this person not afraid of trying to practice on his own? Thinking about it, I understood the reason, which is that a child simply cannot understand these words on his own, so naturally he will not be afraid of practicing any problems. But Pham then coincidentally became aware of the writing of this world. Coincidentally, after experiencing a major change, he died and was resurrected. He did not even have the slightest doubt about fairy tales and ghosts, and he became even more confident in the book. In front of us are books like in Hong Kong martial arts movies, spiritual cultivation of true energy or something. It's just a pity that I don't have a name. And I can't find other children to ask if this method of cultivating true energy is really effective or not. Thinking of this, Pham then smiled stupidly. If the old thief had made it difficult for him once, he would have to treasure it even more. This internal skill is not good in that world, a book of the heart. In front of you, you can't help but start practicing from the age of 1. You must know that this, even compared to starting training from the mother's womb, is not much better. You must know that people all over the world, including the great masters who are worshipped like gods by hundreds of records, even if they are geniuses, are not capable of being like Pham Nhan, who started practicing from the moment he was born. Practice true internal energy. What is this called? This is called the early bird who has food, or the slow person who has to start early. What's more, I won't be any more ignorant than those teenagers just starting out in martial arts. Pham Nhan thought so. He clearly felt the breath begin to flow slowly along the curve described on that page. His body began to flow. This feeling was extremely comfortable, as if there was the warm water was washing every inch of his internal organs. Gradually, he entered a state of contemplation and slept comfortably in bed.